Do you believe that Mike White should be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets for the rest of the year based on this dominant win over the Chicago Bears on Sunday?
How many times can somebody say yes consecutively? Like, yes, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, the proof is in the pudding. I understand, and I will preface 1000%. This game could have 100% gone the other way if Justin Fields was there. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Jets embarrassed the Bears. The Bears weren't at full strength. So let's put that to the side and let's just talk about the focus on Mike White. I've been saying this kid has been good since last season. And the reason I say that is because the game that the Jets played the Colts, I believe it was a Thursday night game where it ended up being an absolute shootout by the score of like 45-30. We end up coming out on top. Jonathan Taylor breaks away for like a 60 some odd yard touchdown to win the game or like seal the game. When the game had started, Mike White was in for about 2 games before that. He was in against Cincinnati, and I think that he was in against, I have it right here, against New England. He played solid in both of those games. And solid. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. But the Bengals game last year, he threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I was like, damn, kid's kind of nice. Zach Wilson was injured. I figured at the end of the day it was just a replacement, maybe getting me Matt Flynn vibes, like, just getting overhyped. And then he goes to the Colts and he absolutely carves us up. Goes 7 of 11 in the first quarter, 95 yards and a touchdown with a freaking QBR of 93 and a passer rating of 122. He gets hurt. I don't know if it was a concussion. I think it was actually his opposite hand, his throwing hand, if I remember correctly. It was pretty swollen, and he wasn't able to go back. He wasn't able to grip the ball without pain. They try to tape him up and all this shit. Regardless, Josh Johnson comes in, and he annihilates our defense. So I'm thinking anybody could have killed us that night. But I was thinking, with what I saw last season, I was like, this guy's kind of like, I think he's really good. Like, he was given a couple of opportunities. He goes out and he gets a win against the Bengals, obviously, last year, who ended up in the Super Bowl, 400 yards, 3 touch. That's hard to do. He was in New England. New England always plays really aggressive and tough. They end up losing that game 54-13, but he put up 200 yards. So I was like, it's the Patriots. It's a division opponent. The Jets haven't beat the Patriots in God knows how long. And he bounces back against Cincy, plays well against Indy in the time that he's there. And then you go to today, right? You skip to 2022. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 91 passer rating, 149.3 passer rating. Excuse me, 91.7 QBR, 149.3 passer rating. 6 incompletions. Zach Wilson had a total of like 9 completions last week for like 70-something yards. So, what are we talking about here? Like, Zach Wilson hasn't touched numbers like this in what I feel like could his whole career. Number 2 overall pick, dog shit. I'm dying on this. Kyle and I have the proof and video evidence. When Zach was taken out of BYU, we said that was probably the worst decision that the Jets were going to make. Shit conference, no opponents, horrible first freshman and sophomore season, comes out as a junior, had an okay year. The internet blows up on a pro day throw where he throws on the motion for like 70 yards with no defense. This kid's the next coming of Joe Namath. No, he sucks. His attitude, leadership, and now his confidence, talking about how the team has lost confidence in his ability to lead, and then he's lost confidence in himself. You're soft. Go cry to somebody who cares. You want to go sleep with people's moms? Go cry to one of those moms. Like, nobody has patience. You're in New York City, the New York media, the New York fan base, nobody gives a shit. You want to go and act like a spoiled brat and say that you're not the reason that you lost the week before. You're not saying that you feel bad for the deep, whatever. This is what happens when you act like a child. You get replaced by a backup who basically has nothing to lose and has outperformed you in multiple games. Limited basis, by the way. He's only played a total of 4 NFL games. In 4 games, he's looked better than you have in your whole career. Listen. Zach Wilson may have had some good games here and there. Zach Wilson may have had some flashes. And I won't deny it. He hasn't been like an absolute bust. But I sent Kyle a graphic, and I can't remember when that was. I sent Kyle a tweet a couple of nights ago while I was on vacation, and I laughed because I was at the dinner table. And it was identical records in terms of like percentages, passing yards, touchdowns, and win-loss record to Jamarcus Russell, who is arguably the biggest bust in NFL history. Who's the number 1 overall pick? 2007 or 2008 to the Raiders, whichever one that was. Their numbers are almost symmetrical. crazy, right? It's like we haven't seen a bust that bad since. No, no, no. Zach Wilson is almost as bad. So yes, Mike White is 100% going to carry this team because you already have a good offense, you have a good running attack, you have a good defense, you have good playmakers, you have a good coaching staff, you have a great leader in Robert Saleh. You were a quarterback away from competing in the AFC East, quarterback away from competing in the AFC in general. You're 7-4. You've beaten the Bills. This is possible. This is a team that can sneak into the playoffs, maybe get a wild card victory. Mike White gives you that ability. Accurate down the field, obviously is able to throw the long ball. He's able to be accurate. He's able to give this team something that Zach Wilson doesn't, which would seem to be everything in my opinion. But Mike White has proven enough. From last year to this year, it looks like he's only gotten better. Again, I understand the Fields wasn't there, but if we're basing it off of this game, as opposed to whatever Zach Wilson was putting onto the field the entire season, this game is enough for me to say, Zach, hold that clipboard, get comfortable, son. Don't even suit up. We don't need you.
Yeah, Kev. I mean, I'm with you 100% on this one. And, like I said, or actually, what I should say is what you said is they were playing against the Bears. Not necessarily what I would consider top tier talent. So you kind of have to take this game with a little bit of a grain of salt, simply just because, had Mike White played against the Patriots last week, I'm not saying that he was going to play worse than Zach Wilson, but there's no guarantee that he would have played like spectacular football against the Patriots. But maybe he would have done enough to get them past New England, since New England only scored 10 points against the Jets last week. And that's how good that Jets defense is. And then, the Jets put on a very similar type of performance against the Bears this week. Kev, we were talking about it before we even started recording. The Jets needed a spark, especially at the quarterback spot, and I think that Mike White provides it. And, Kev just outlined all the stats. I mean, he had a fantastic day against the Bears, only had like 5 or 6 incompletions, just lit it up. And it didn't really matter who he was throwing to, whether it was Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Tyler Conklin. Like, all these guys were getting into the fold. And I will say that Mike White did an excellent job being able to distribute the ball effectively to not just 1 or 2 targets, but several targets, upwards of 5, 6, 7 receivers definitely got into the fold to make some sort of impact. And this is really where I kind of want to take the conversation to. If you put Mike White in this situation where he's able to succeed, and as long as the offensive line is giving him a clean pocket to throw to, Kev, I'm going to be kind of bold here. I think they have a very good chance to possibly even play for one of the top seeds, not only in the AFC East, but if they keep winning, and based off what this defense is doing, they could end up with like possibly the second or third best record in the AFC overall. Now, that would imply that Mike White keeps playing at a spectacular level, and there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to do that. I look at this defense as an elite defense just because of what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks, essentially limiting the last 2 opponents that they've gone up against to 13 points. That's impressive. Now, granted, you kind of have to take the opponents into account, and I'm fully aware of that. But I think based off of that loss against the Patriots last week, knowing that the defense played so well and the offense did absolutely nothing with Zach Wilson in the fold, and then you had all of the drama that came from that post-game press conference where Zach basically said that he wasn't responsible for them losing that game against New England, or specifically him, if you want to look at it that way. I'll tell you what, I think he lost the entire team based off that statement, because I think he just came off as somebody who was deflecting blame in that moment, and knowing, or I should say the team knew that they knew that the offense could have played better. And I think in this game particularly, now that you have a change at the quarterback position, Mike White dominated it, and I think really the team was looking forward to that change, and I think that they got it. And who knows? Could this be the spark that leads to a 3, 4, 5 game winning streaks? Who knows? Maybe. Obviously we have to see whether or not that Mike White can be able to sustain this level of success. And like I've already said, there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to do that. He's off to a good start. And as long as he doesn't turn the ball over and they get good complementary production from the run game, which was something that we should also talk about in the Bears game, they ran for over 150 yards, so they were able to effectively run the ball as well as passing the ball in the air. If they're able to do that and you combine that with what the defense has been doing, this is a good team. This is not only just a good team in the AFC East, this is a good team in the AFC overall. We'll see how things transpire over the next couple weeks. They've got some good opportunities to possibly shake things up as we go along into December and then early January. But I have to say, with Mike White getting his first start in 2022, definitely off to a good start, and we'll see whether or not that he can continue it. But I like where the Jets are right now. They're at 7-4. They're only one game behind the Bills and the Dolphins in the AFC East. We'll see what happens. They could potentially be in the driver's seat if they play their cards right. But, like I always say, time will tell.